Fun fact, I'm actually not the producer. My co-commentator producer tonight, Noah Carmichael, also known as Mighty Mac on YouTube, is alongside me in the booth. Noah, we had a fantastic time out at Daytona last time. We had a lot more cars than we do here tonight, but we also have a very different racetrack that, admittedly, I think getting around Rockingham, 13 cars is more than enough to make it a little bit difficult.
It's even more difficult considering the fact that I've never produced a broadcast before, and I just realized that I forgot to unmute you and muted my microphone instead. So we're learning the hard way. We're gonna figure this out together. How about that?
Nah, that's all good. Do you want me to go again? No, you want me to restart them?
Go nuts.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen, race number 2 of the ARCA series for OSRL 2026. Last time out, we saw an 80-lap race at Daytona International Speedway. That race was a collaboration between the John Carr ARCA series and this OSRL series. Tonight is only OSRL. We are at Rockingham Speedway, Rockingham, North Carolina, virtually, of course, through iRacing. 125 laps is your main event. We are in the 5-minute open qualifying session right now. 13 drivers have joined the group for the show tonight, at least thus far. And this group qualifying session is going to set the field for 125 laps around as we move forward. Noah, like he said, first time out as a producer, happy to have him aside of me. He was here last time. Noah, the racetrack at Daytona, we had a lot more cars, but we also had a lot more space to work with. At Rockingham, now, I like Rockingham, and I think these cars race it well, but this track gets narrow really fast. And so I'm sure even with 13 cars, it's going to be hectic enough for these drivers.
Absolutely. This is a very tricky racetrack to get a hang of because of the fact that it has such an older surface. Because, of course, if I'm correct, we are using the 2012 edition of this game. We are not using the newer edition, which I believe came out in the last few seasons. So this track has a lot more character to it, and it's a lot harder to get the hold of. I talked to a couple drivers and did a couple laps myself during a practice session, and it's very tough to get around this place. It takes such a long time for these tires to get into grip that you're basically forced to run that upper line towards the wall, because if you run that lower line in those first 10 laps, there's a couple bumps that will shoot this car sideways and will send you spinning. So as you're going to see from guys like Cole Frey, and from other drivers like you see Austin J. Rip, who's currently sitting second on the board, but also Jack Painter, a lot of them are going to have to navigate that top line to begin with, because you really just cannot hold that bottom line to save your life. The car will immediately just want to spin itself out.
Yeah, these cars are going to be fighting a lot of oversteer with cold tires. I've been hearing the drivers talk about trying to have some control of these things, especially coming out of the corners. Rockingham's got weird banking. When you go out of the corners, if you're up at the top side, you basically fall down the banking. I know Daytona does that as well, but I've always felt, Noah, that the Rockingham banking is really abrupt and pretty drastic, which is going to feed into some up-on-the-wheel driving. It might make it exciting for us, but it also might give us some thrills and spills. Like what you're seeing Nolan Sanford do right now is this qualifying session. About a minute and a half to go. Jack Painter at the top of the board. We still got a little bit of time for these other drivers to put times up and move further up in the standings. But yeah, that kind of thing, or what we're seeing right here on your screen with Griffin Jones, that is what we're going to be watching out for tonight.
Yeah, and just to give you an idea, you talk about the transition of the banking. Well, it's in part due to the fact, look at how aggressive the banking on this racetrack is. It is so steep, and it's one of those things that you really have a hard time visualizing through the sim. But if you watch Cleus McFarland, he did his vlog because he got his license orientation program for the truck series here just this past week, and when they first went onto the racetrack, they took the banking heading into pit road, and you could really get an idea of just how steep it is from LS George's camera taking out the passenger window. It's almost straight up and down. I want to say the banking here is comparable to what Daytona has. Maybe Daytona's a little bit steeper, but when you're on the bottom of this racetrack, it's like you're looking straight up a wall. It is an intimidating racetrack to get a hold of, so that kind of explains how the banking is. I mean, heck, you can see it just from Cole's car. Look at where he is sitting on the pit lane, that flat surface, and the wall is higher than the roof of the car. It is a very steep racetrack, and when you feed off this corner, like you say, it just shoots you right down the banking. But even the backstretch has a bit of banking to it, which makes it such a difficult racetrack to get a hold of.
Yeah, it is a little bit of a difficult racetrack to get a hold of with that in mind. Got about half a minute left in qualifying here as the drivers try to get their last runs in. I am excited to see what is to come, but yeah, I mean, we talk about this racetrack already enough to say that this is this is going to be one of those racetracks for these guys to cross off when it's over. It is just a completely different animal. And like we've seen, if you go back in time, you go back to the early 2000s NASCAR, I mean, we saw some of the greatest races of that time frame with at least the greatest finishes of that time frame at this racetrack, and it was because of the way this track, you just can send it into the corners, and that banking will kind of slingshot you back out onto the straightaways when you're done. But these cars, these ARCA cars, don't have as much of the immediate grip right away on those general tires with the downforce of these cars to hold them down in place very well. So they're going to be moving and shaking. Like I said, it's going to be a lot of car movement, sliding that we're going to be watching. I'm sure they're going to need to use a few of them.
Yeah, this is going to be such a tricky racetrack because especially on colder tires and with how these new tire models are, it makes it very difficult in these opening laps. So it's pretty much going to be a challenge of trying to get this thing up to the wall as fast as you can. I think it's going to be really challenging for the drivers on the inside, which is kind of, I almost want to say, a disadvantage of being on pole is because of the fact you have to start at the bottom, which is going to make this a really challenging place to be because you're going to enter down on the corner, and when you're going up to speed too, it shoots you straight up to the wall when you enter turn number 1. So it's going to be a challenge for a lot of these guys just to navigate these opening laps.
Absolutely it is. And so the opening laps we're going to be watching here, we've got about 2 minutes before they roll off from the grid. So no, I think we're ready to go if we can jump onto the starting grid of this race. Like we said, only 13 drivers here tonight with us, but Olsen is setting second in points currently into this event. We are looking at car number 97. This is a North Carolina driver. That is Jack Ram 97 car on the outside. We've got Toyota Camry car number 15 out of Railing. Railing is a champion of the series, and Racecraft Academy slipstream signs on the side for the winner last time, winner at Daytona, Isaac Johnson. Moving to 8th on the grid. Outside of him, the Good Wrench Services, number 3 is Jet Miller, is doing it for Dale. Nolan Sanford, car 52, the Coda color, black with yellow on the sides. 9th place on the grid. 10th place, the next level. Music Millennium, number 65, the Ford is Austin Ripp. You've got car number 53, Griffin Jones, in 11th place on the starting grid. That is the only Gen 4 spec car in the field. And then Christopher Williams will be starting in 12th and Madeline Roten in 13th, except the two of them are not out on the racetrack right now. Which means, Noah, that is your rundown as the pace truck brings them through turns 3 and 4, and we will get set to move forward and get these 125 laps underway. And as they get set and get rolling, the green flag is out, and we are underway. Cole Freilich leads us into the inside of turn number 1. Painter on the outside off that start, and the decel number 97 moves backwards. Cole Freilich takes the lead down the back straightaway as the 13 drivers come down. You can see a little bit of a sun glare. That shouldn't be too much of a problem through this race. As into turn number 3 and 4, Painter brought that momentum. Cole Freilich off the top side will lead lap number 1. Spencer Madden coming down into the corner a lot deeper than the rest of the field here. Seems to be the one guy comfortable with doing that for the moment. As we look at that separation now, we got 3 cars separating up at the front. Adam Harrington, Harry Grindell are leading the pack of those behind. Cole Freilich took from his rearview mirror the line that Spencer Madden ran last time through, and Freilich might be starting to get a little more comfortable with that inside line as he does it again through 1 and 2. But Jack Painter still threatening on the top side, and the momentum is going to go in the favor of the 97, although at this point about a car length and a half into turn number 3.
You can see Painter's going to try and drive it deep into turn number 3. They try and use that momentum that he's going to get off of turn number 4 to give him a bit of an advantage. Cole Freilich, though, brushes the wall a little bit as he exits forward. That's going to allow Painter to close the door on him, and here he comes. Going to go side by side into turn number 1. Let's see if he can't get the momentum off the corner. Cole's going to have the advantage on corner exits. We got a spinner in the back. That is the number 70 of Harry Grindell. He's going to spin up to the wall, and the caution is out.
Caution flag will come out. We will pull back a replay here. Check out this incident. It's not too major of an accident for Harry, but enough to be dangerous and definitely enough for the first yellow flag of the night. So actually, you see the 54 car of Mo Perry moved up the racetrack, got into Grindell in the entrance of the corner, and Harry just tried to hold it out. Actually did I think a really solid job, Noah, of keeping that car pretty much under control. Definitely got a lick of the wall, but not too shabby, and that could have been a lot worse, especially considering that contact with Mo Perry. But yeah, Mo Perry, I think maybe you could say got the worst of it, but we'll kind of have to run that back one more time and check that out.
Yeah, you're going to see heading into turn number 1. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. You enter the corner just a little bit too shallow. If you carry too much speed, the car washes up the racetrack, and that's exactly what happened to Mo Perry. He just enters the corner, and the car just ends up shooting up the racetrack right into the path of that number 70 car, and that's all it really takes. And he slid down the banking and hits the inside wall. We're going to try and get the onboard here real quick as we wait to see exactly what transpired. As you see, here we go. We're going to go back. So he gets that run off of corner number 4. I might have to go back a little bit further to see, but he's going to air turn number 1 just a little bit too hot and right into the path, and there he goes. And he tries to save it, but the car just loses all control. He's going to actually, not too bad. He kind of just nudged it off that inside wall. Let's see if we can't find a camera that gives us a view of that front end. Yeah, only caved it in a little bit. Not too bad.
Yeah, a little bit of damage. I think Mo probably still got the worst of it, but not too bad at all. I mean, Grindell got a little bit of rear end damage, and I saw Austin Rip, I guess unrelated, but Austin Rip kind of kicking up some smoke when he came down to the pit lane, as we just had a little run through of drivers who came in to get some service. To be exact, that is 3 cars, and so Griffin Jones was in that mix as well. So, actually, sorry, 4 cars, because Mo Perry's still down on the pit lane now. As you check back in with the field here, we are under yellow flag condition, but we are looking to come back to green, I think, next time. Yes, indeed, the pace truck lights are out and the field doubles up. Cole Freilich leading the way right now. He got the run off the inside for the original start. And Noah, this time around, I think it's going to be a little bit easier for these guys because the tires are a little bit more up to temperature and you get a little more air pressure. Now, the group of them at the back of the field, I think is actually going to be really interesting to watch to see how much of a difference they have in their start compared to the guys who are on warmer tires up front.
Yeah, but you also got to remember, these guys have been under caution, so the temperatures are going to be a little bit down, but we know how iRacing likes to be with trapping heat in these tires, so it will be a little bit interesting to see that difference, especially now that we're on these a little bit older tires. We're only 8 laps into it, and they say you need about 10 laps to get that bottom worked in on these tires, so it really depends. If Jack Painter can nail this restart, I think he's going to have a really good shot at clearing Cole off of turn number 2 here.
Well, we will have to see as the pace truck comes down off of the banking, that steep banking we talked about. The green flag comes back out, and Cole Freilich with a fantastic restart off the bottom. Going to completely clear Jack Painter into turn number 1 and will move up the racetrack to try to block that run. Actually kind of stays middle line to see if he can stay in front of both him and Spencer Madden And down the backstretch, Cole Freilich, car number 15, leads again into turn number 3.
Here comes Jack Painter once again, going to try and drive it up off the wall to get himself a bit of a run. He's going to try the crossover move, or is he going to try and wait and bide his time? Yes, he is. He's going to hold off. He does not want to take that inside line. Painter again, going to run that upper line to try and get the momentum off the corner, but it's just not working the way he wants, as Freilich right now just starting to open up a bit of a lead now as we are in the early laps of the second stage, I guess, of this race off the restart. But now he's got to be careful, because if you look right behind him, here comes Spencer Ray again, trying to peek his nose in to maybe get a fight for the race lead going.
Spencer Madden coming in. You keep saying our friend Spencer Ray. That's Spencer Madden there in the 6 car. Adam Harrington actually having a solid run back there as well in 5th place, holding off Jet Miller and Harry Grindell. Grindell kind of starting to bring it to the front again, as that 70 car very strong, one of the strongest contenders we had last week at Daytona. And he's trying to figure out a way around that 3 car, but Adam Harrington on your screen, and now back to Grindell. There's the number 70 Kamikaze Motorsports machine as he works the bottom side of the racetrack, and he's got about 7 lap fresher tires, or at least kept together car, than the 3 car in front of him. I actually need to check if he did take tires. He did not. Or yes, I'm sorry, yes he did. So Harry Grindell's tires about 7 laps younger, which honestly, Noah, with having 3 sets to work through, this race, what's that, 125 divided by 4, you've got about 30-some laps that you need to run per set of tires to get through this race if you want to do it evenly. So I hope Harry Grindell has a good strategy to get these tires lengthened out and not lose too much time when they get old. Oh, look out.
Man,
that was close.
That's way too close, especially with how early in the race it is. But I think you got to remember with Harry, he's basically drifted through all of turns 1 and 2. So those tires would have been flat spotted or killed or whatever you want. So he was pretty much in a position of damned if you do, damned if you don't. He's already at the back of the pack, so you might as well try and go off strategy to get yourself in a little bit of a better position, or maybe a little bit of an advantage later on in the run because of how much better his tires are going to be because of how early it is. And oh, he's going to go spinning again.
Uh-oh. Oh, that's contact with Miller. Yellow flag is out for that. They called it, but that wasn't... I mean, I understand why that the yellow flag came out. I don't know if iRacing did that itself or if that was... It looks like race control did that. But
if you saw, that's a little bit of frustration out of the 70 car as well. He took a little bit of a swipe down the banking towards the number 3 car.
I definitely respect why that happened. I mean, we're not getting off to a good start with this 70 team. Having 2 slides like that, especially in turns 1 and 2. Flat spotting the tires, like you're saying, Noah. I mean, this is not a racetrack to run out of rubber on.
Yeah, there it is. I'm trying to go back to where the wreck was. I think we're going to get closer here in a sec. There it is.
Yeah. Here we go. So this is going to show... And Noah, I mean, from my perspective here, and see what you have to chime in on this as well, Noah, I think this... Miller kind of stayed in line. I think Grindell kind of expected the 3 to go down. Maybe a little bit of a respect thing, or maybe just Jet trying to stay in a spot on the racetrack he likes, because that 3 car's been up top the whole time. But you're going to see him go low on the 70 and then just not go any further.
It's kind of the same position of what Mo was in when he did it. You just, he's trying to enter the corner on the bottom, and he's carrying a little bit more speed than I think he's intending on wanting to do. So he goes on the brakes, and the car is just going to shoot straight up the racetrack. And I think it is what you're talking about. He's so used to entering on the top side that he's using the same kind of entry that he would. But, if you're even like a half a line off of what you would normally run, then you're in a really tough spot to try and pull a move like that off. And the car just ends up washing up the racetrack. And what you see right there is what's going to happen. You just end up losing it like that. And then for the second time tonight, in the first half of the race alone, that sends that number 70 of Harry Grindell spinning up the racetrack. Because now we're going to go on board with the 52 of Nolan Sanford, who is right in the front row seat for all of this.
So we're watching on board as you'll watch Jet Miller move down across. That was the run the 3 car had, and then just right meeting in the middle there. Good evasive driving from Nolan Sanford too there, Noah, to kind of stay out of it and stay close enough to the bottom that if anything really went wrong, he was able to avoid it. And then that's where the 70 car comes back, and that little chop that you called out. It's just a bit of that frustration coming out for having this same thing happen twice.
Yeah, I'd say he's a little bit validated to be feeling like that. It's 2 times a night.
I'd be a little more careful than that warming the tires up, though, what he's doing right now, because you're getting to the point where you're not even just getting temperature in them, you're scrubbing them. And I wouldn't want to be doing that on a racetrack like this. Harry Grindel has had a rough start to this night. We're not even a fifth of the way into this race. He's already had to come through twice. He's already slid twice like that. And yes, that's a tough break. That's tough.
Yeah, but the thing you gotta remember about how racing is there's certain cheeses that the drivers like to call it that allow you to have these kind of tire advantages. In the GT3 cars, that's a trick that a lot of drivers have done, is just weaving the cars back and forth as hard as you can to kind of build the tires in. So that might be what he's doing, because I don't know, because this is a little bit of a different tire model than what some of the other cars run, just because of the fact that it has that little bit newer, kind of more spongy tire that this car has become known for.
Spongy tires. That's what I like to hear. Green flag coming back out. Spencer Madden leads the way as we've got a little bit of a shuffle up at the front end. Cole Freilich on the outside, and Spencer Madden will lead us into turn number 1 from the inside. Tries to clear Freilich. Does not do so. Cole's got the run on the outside. They call him the Madman for a reason. Down the back straightaway. They're still side by side, and Griffin Jones. Huge accident. Huge contact with the inside wall. And it's still green for the time being. It looks like they're going to leave this one go.
It's at the back of the pack. I think they're going to say just let it run.
Yeah, it looks like they're going to have to let it. They're letting it run here. Spencer Madden leads the way, and a pretty significant gap in between himself and now Isaac Johnson moves into second place. 33 cars a little bit all over, but he's in second, and he goes up the top of the racetrack. Reigning winner from last time, trying to reel back in the 6, and Cole Freilich with a nice save off the bottom there.
Yeah, a little bit of a change going on here. I'm not sure if Spencer Madden or Isaac took tires or not, but these two really started to move their way up, because now the top two that we used to have, Cole Freilich and Jack Painter, are now battling for the third spot back there, as now Spencer Madden, who we talked about in the early parts of this race, was kind of peeking his nose in to kind of start the fight for the race lead. Now he's starting to run away with it here.
The answer is yes, they are all on new tires, so it's interesting that there's a little bit of a difference, because Spencer Madden, they're all on the same set of tires. They ought to all be kind of equalized based off of what we saw in the start of this one, as Jet Miller tried to send it in a little bit on Freilich. I wonder what went down with Cole Freilich that he's starting to drop back a little bit into this field.
I think he just got swallowed up on the restart there, because he started back in the second row with Jack Painter, and when you have, these two up front and they're leading the way, it kind of puts you in a precarious spot, because you got to check up with the dirty air, and then it just allows the cars behind you to kind of capitalize on that, and then they're just going to start dive bombing, trying to get any position they can.
Yeah, it's definitely fair. So, anyway, we've seen here, we've got a Ford leading 3 Toyotas right now, and then Jet Miller in the Chevy in 5th place. You're watching Cole Freilich on your screen. He's got Jack Painter right in front of him. North Carolina guy, Jet Miller behind, hit the wall, and is still hitting the wall down the backstretch. Yeah, he's got into it like 3 times down the back chute. That allowed Nolan Sanford to move through. Harry Grindel now putting pressure on, as well as Adam Harrington back here. This is a fight between 6th, 7th, 8th, and 9th. You'll see all of them under a blanket on your screen right here, most of them going to the top side. Harry Grindel still trying to hold down low, that red and white number 70. And Jet Miller a little bit smoother this time down the backstretch, Noah.
And looking back up to the 3rd position, the fight is still raging between these two. They're first fighting for the lead, now they're fighting for 3rd, and I don't know if that's really what you want to do right now, because they're still holding close to Isaac Johnson, but the more you fight, the more it's going to allow that 6-car Spencer Madden to kind of check out. So Cole Freilich still trying to make that bottom work, but it is just not working the way he wants, because now the Painter has that somewhat clean air in front of Cole Freilich. He's now not letting it go, and he's able to just really get the momentum off the corner that he's been looking for.
Yeah, and I'm watching Freilich right now when he tries to make that run off the inside, and he just gets so loose, especially out of turn number 4. So loose trying to get the power down, it's not even worth it. You lose all your momentum. So Cole's going to dip out again and try to do this bottom line. He might try to do more of a slide job move up the racetrack. Yes, you're on board with him as he does. He crosses over the nose of the 97 car. He's now got the 97 to his inside. Painter now maybe going to try to return the favor. No, Cole sends it in really deep there to try to keep beside him, and the momentum off the top side should allow Cole Freilich to hold on to the position, and back into third place he goes.
And you gotta be really careful when you do stuff like that, because when you slide these tires, again, it's a little, I don't know if it's different, but when I ran the Gen 4 cars here earlier this week, which are also at Rockingham in the official, this track is like a cheese grater for tires. It just eats them up. So when you're this aggressive on these tires, it's really easy to have the tires going real fast. And then when you're fighting for the third spot, you end up falling all the way back to 7th, because the people who are saving their tires and are taking care of their equipment, they just start to check out later in the run. So I don't know if Cole's banking on a caution or if these tires are able to hold up a little bit more, but super aggressive here in the early parts of this stint.
Yeah, super aggressive.